Hello, welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended, where we are once again checking out 5 new exciting creature mods that have released in the past few months. And there has been some absolute bangers. All of these mods are free and can be played cross-platform, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off the video is the formidable Tyranno Dominator from Tristan, an aggressive and highly intimidating predatorial theropod, and damn, it looks badass. Tristan's mods are always of the highest quality, and the Tyranno Dominator is no exception. This beast comes in 4 different variants: a regular variant, a scorched earth variant, an aberrant variant, and also an extinction variant. On most maps they will spawn in the grasslands, snow and mountains, in the badlands, mountains and canyons on scorched earth, the green zone, surface and red zone on aberration. How beautiful is the aberrant variant though? Look at those colours! And throughout the wasteland on extinction. The mod adds certain types of ammo for the rocket launcher. The ammo type you need for taming one is the cannon rockets, unlocked at level 65, which kind of makes no sense as you have to be level 87 to unlock the launcher unless I'm missing something. Crafting up a bunch of those, 20 cannon rockets and 2 launchers just in case, is roughly what is required to KO a level 150, accounting for a few misses of course. It's definitely best to trap it if you can, as it can be an absolute nightmare to tame when not using a trap, as it can inflict massive knockback to you and your tames when roaring. The taming process is relatively straightforward. All you need to do is wait for it to perform a roar animation and shoot it right in the face. It will gain a nice chunk of torpor for each successful headshot during the roar animation. However, it will take substantial health damage when shot anywhere else other than the head, so you may need to feed it a carcass every so often or use a snow owl to heal it. I was lucky and was able to knock this one out without having to heal it at all. Once unconscious, it will remain immune to any type of damage for 60 seconds and prefers extraordinary kibble for the best taming efficiency. It can be saddled up at level 75 and does also have numerous armor attachments, which offer unique perks and extra armor protection. The gauntlets offer 5 extra armor protection and 2% damage resistance, the helmet an extra 10 armor and 10% damage resistance, the leggings an extra 5 armor, 5% extra movement speed and 5% damage resistance, and the tail spikes offering an extra 5 armor and dealing 5% extra damage with its tail attacks. How good does that saddle and armor look though? Tristan does typically go all out with his creatures when it comes to saddles, and damn do they look good. I do wish more vanilla creatures had saddles and armor pieces like this, to be honest. Along with the armor buffs, it does of course have some deadly attacks at its disposal. A regular bite attack, which deals some pretty hefty damage, a secondary claw attack which deals much less damage than the regular bite, so I'm not too sure of why you would use this over the bite. It also has a deadly ranged attack, where it will dig its tail into the ground and yeet dirt all over the map. No doubt nowhere remotely close to the target you want to hit, but damn, it looks cool. It has not 1 but 2 types of roars. One is just a standard cosmetic roar, and the second is known as the explosive roar. And well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Once used, will deal some hefty damage and some massive knockback to any targets in range, and also temporarily slows the targets too. It can also sit down like a puppy via its radial menu, where it receives a rapid regeneration buff for a whopping 2 minutes. Oh, how cute is that? And finally, as ridiculous as it looks, yes, it can jump great distances, which I'm not really a big fan of. The mod does also add an alpha variant that will spawn on all maps as far as I am aware, which is a formidable enemy offering a new open world challenge for you to take on. As always, can be killed for your typical alpha creature loot, which is a crafting requirement needed to summon the deadly elder variant. Emphasis on the deadly. This thing is an absolute monster. It can be summoned via an engram inside your inventory, which you can use once you have 15 alpha Tyranno Dominator claws. Upon consumption, it will spawn on top of you, so be ready for that. This battle is not for the faint-hearted, as you really do need to be very well prepared. It has a whopping 3 million health and can dish out some devastating attacks. It can be killed for a ton of loot, most notably high-quality Tyranno Dominator saddles, blueprints and armor pieces. With all that being said, there is a lot to experience with the Tyranno Dominator mod, so I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of a big bad theropod. Up next, we have the Husky Wolf from Kaviden. I think it's safe to say that everybody loves the direwolf in ARK, and well, if you're looking for a larger, fluffier, and more powerful version of the wolf, then the Husky Wolf is the perfect mod for you. As expected, they share spawns with the regular direwolf, so hunting one down in the snow biomes is always going to be the go-to spot to find one. They also spawn in Scorched Earth's badland areas, and apparently all zones on the Aberration map, so yes, there is an aberrant variant too. However, what I will say is that they did seem to spawn excessively aggressively on aberration, in the green and blue zones but rarely in the red zone, so it does cause a lot of imbalance in regards to creature spawns, so hopefully that will get looked into. I love the husky wolf, but not enough for it to be the only creature spawning in all zones and wiping everything else out. Unlike the vanilla direwolf, it cannot be bowlered and is tamed via typical knockout methods, preferring extraordinary kibble for the best taming efficiency. Once tamed, it does have access to a saddle, which is unlocked at level 65. You can find higher quality saddles in red beacons and red cave crates. Once saddled up, you'll own a beast like no other, larger, faster, and stronger when compared to the vanilla direwolf, while also having stats comparable to a T-Rex, with the added bonus of being a comparable size to the direbear, making it a pretty handy caving mount. Speaking of its size, it is quite a lot larger than its direwolf cousins. Visually, they do look roughly the same. The husky wolf definitely appears to be a lot fluffier and actually has many more color regions as opposed to the regular wolf, which is really cool. You'll definitely be able to breed some beautiful colors into these beasts. They do share the same abilities as the vanilla direwolf, so pressing the crouch key will sniff out any nearby explorer notes. Also the wound sniffer passive, where the rider can see the approximate health of nearby targets, visible with a white cross. When below 50% health, a yellow cross, and gradually turn into red when very low on health, and will detect corpses with a white broken cross. However, the husky wolf does seem to have 50% weight reduction for meat, hide, chitin, and pelt when inside its inventory, which is quite nice. But of course, the husky wolf comes into its own with its fighting capability and high damage and attacks. It does share the strong pack buffs of the direwolf, which will go up to +4 in a group of 5 or more, adding extra damage and damage resistance per extra pack member, with the highest level being designated the alpha of the pack, where it is able to howl to increase the pack leader's damage by 25% and damage resistance by 12.5%, assuming it is the same buffs as the vanilla direwolf. A giant pack of these husky wolves will shred through absolutely anything and everything, including bosses if you have a good breeding line. The husky wolf is everything that a direwolf fan could ever dream of. Moving to the opposite side of the spectrum, we have a peaceful herbivore. That is the Stygia Moloch, which also comes from Kavaiden, aka the Patchy's long-lost cousin. You can find them spawning around the beaches, jungles, grasslands on most maps, Scorched Earth's Green Desert, and Aberration's Green Zone, which will be the Aberrant variant. And as expected, looking rather pretty just like most Aberrant variants in the game, so they can be bowlered and are just a simple knockout tame, preferring regular kibble for the best taming efficiency, but of course, if you're aiming to tame one of these early game, then you'll probably be taming it on berries. Once tamed, it can be saddled up at level 33, which does actually give it a 50 armor rating, giving it a shiny, sturdy metal helmet to protect its head from all the ramming it's about to unleash into the world. So they are basically a massive upgrade to the Patchy. As you can see, they look very similar. The Stygia is, however, quite a bit larger, and although their saddle is unlocked around a similar level to the Anki and the Doedicurus, when starting out on ARK, it can be quite challenging to access these two resource gatherers, as they tend to spawn in dangerous locations. So the Stygia Moloch will be a great choice for your early game resource gathering needs, as it can efficiently gather stone, flint, and metal, and has massive weight reduction for all three. Plus, unlike the Patchy, it can actually gather berries with its additional tailspin attack. It always winds me up when a herbivore can't harvest berries for themselves, and I don't mean to single anyone out, but Doedicurus, I am looking at you, my boy. And just like the vanilla Patchy, it does deal torpor inflicting attacks with its regular headbutt attack, but much more effectively with its charge. Admittedly, it will most likely kill smaller creatures, but with the right strategy, it will be able to aid you in knocking out a wide variety of creatures. It's also a lot of fun. The amount of utility the Stygia Moloch offers, especially at the early game, is almost unmatched. While we move back to aggressive carnivores with this next entry, this is the Daemonis, which also comes from Tristan. It is quite possibly a relative of the raptor family, and is a cunning and deadly predator. There are different variants of them depending on what map you are playing. The regular Daemonis found spawning around the grasslands, snow and mountains on most maps. The Scorched variant spawning in the Badlands, canyons and mountains on Scorched Earth. The Extinction variant found throughout the wasteland on Extinction, while the Aberrant variant will spawn in the Green Zone, at the surface, and also the Red Zone. How beautiful are those colors though? Damn, I do love me a good Aberrant variant. So to tame one of these beasts, there are a few requirements that do need to be met. Firstly, you will need to craft up some coagulated spread, which you can craft up from a mortar and pestle. The mod also adds its own kibble, which is the only food the Daemonis will eat. So you need to whip up a batch of that too in your cooking pot. You'll then want to don a full set of ghillie armor. Once you spot the Daemonis you want to tame, consume the spread, which will cause you to become almost invisible to it. You can also force feed these to your creatures too if need be. Once you have all the gear at the ready, drag the kibble into your final hotbar slot, as it is tamed passively. Approach and feed. It's as simple as that. Once tamed, the saddle can be unlocked at level 46. With its speed, agility, and ability to jump great distances, we'll see you traversing all types of terrain with little to no problem, while also doing so in style. But of course, it comes into its own as a battle mount, which is where it really shines. With a variety of attacks at its disposal, a regular bite attack, which is nothing special, a claw attack which deals less damage but can hit the target twice, with both attacks inflicting a small amount of knockback. But what I love most about its attacks is that it has a tail slap attack, which can be performed by facing the camera behind the Daemonis. So if something is attacking you from behind, you can slap them in the face a couple of times to let them know who's boss. So you may be thinking, it doesn't seem that strong of a creature, and then you discover its ranged attacks, being one of few that can harness the power of fire, with a deadly fire breath attack. And I must admit, I did not expect it to spit fire like this, which can be held down continuously until its stamina drains. And it doesn't end there. Instead of spitting fire, it can spray and pray blood all over its victims. This attack works similarly to the Blood Crystal Wyvern's breath attack, draining a target's health over time. And speaking of blood, it also has a lot of utility going its way on this subject. So it has its own Blood Rage ability, which when used it will perform a terrifying roar, which will give it 10% damage resistance, and also immunity to any bleed effects for the duration of 60 seconds. How cool does that look though, man? I cannot compliment Tristan's mods enough. From the design, animations, attention to detail, pretty much everything stands out in one way or another. Moving back on track, the Daemonis will harvest blood packs every time it bites or consumes a carcass, where it can craft up a sanguine elixir from its inventory, just like the Desmodus. The elixir once on your hotbar while looking at a knocked out creature or passive tame will increase the taming bar by 30%. Also, when raising babies, it will instantly increase the imprint percentage by 30% upon consumption. It really is a game-changing item. It does also have the same sit option as the Tyranno Dominator when accessing its radial menu, offering the rapid regeneration buff for 120 seconds. And finally, just like the Tyranno Dominator, there are two more variants of the Daemonis that the mod adds to your game. The Alpha variant, offering a new challenge and can be killed for a cheeky bit of loot comparable to that of other regular Alpha creatures in the game. And also a world boss variant, known as the Elder Daemonis, which works the same as the Elder Tyranno Dominator. Spawns in via a craftable engram, where you will need 15 Alpha Daemonis claws to summon, and of course once consumed will appear in the area right on top of you. It does have quite a decent amount of health, over 250k, so it's not a walk in the park, but it's far more doable than the Elder Tyranno Dominator, that's for sure. It can also be killed for a variety of loot, including high quality Daemonis saddles and blueprints. There is no doubt in my mind that the Daemonis will be a lovely addition to your world. And to close out the video, we have my personal favourite creature on the list. This is the Zungaria, another awesome creature addition from Tristan and Dark Edge TV, who makes awesome modded creature spotlight videos on her YouTube channel, by the way. So if you haven't watched any of those videos already, I highly recommend checking her out. Link to her channel is in the description of the video. This thing is once again a monster, a true representation of a powerful and intimidating herbivore that the majority of carnivores don't wish to tangle with, and for good reason. Quite evidently, it is a relative of the Parasauriferium family. Once again, just like Tristan's other creatures featured in this video, it comes in a variety of different variants. The standard variant can be found spawning in grasslands, the redwoods, and the swamp biomes on most maps. The scorched variant found in the canyons, badlands, and the oasis areas on scorched earth. The aberrant variant in the green and blue zones. What an absolute beauty. And also found on extinction in the sunken forest, oasis, and the city biomes. There is also an alpha variant that can share spawns with all other variants, also spawning in the scorched earth dunes and extinction's wasteland, which hits like a truck, by the way. It is nice to see an alpha variant in the form of a beastly herbivore such as this, and if you are wondering, they can be killed for a tasty bit of loot, including high quality Zungaria saddles and blueprints. So to tame one, it is a knockout tame, however not your typical type. Similar to the rock elemental or the titanosaur, you will need to launch cannonballs or rockets at it to inflict inflict torpor. Luckily, you can hit it anywhere on its body, so no need for headshots only. Once rendered unconscious, prefers superior kibble for the best tame and effectiveness. Once tamed, it does have access to a regular saddle, which is unlocked at level 50, and also an armored saddle unlocked at level 60. The saddles do look amazing, by the way. When you compare this to the basic Parasus saddle, it is like a night and day difference. This might actually be one of my favorite non-armored saddles I have ever seen in the game. When equipping the regular saddle, the Zungaria Therium gives anything inside its inventory 50% weight reduction, so it can carry a lot of items for you. The armored saddle, of course, looks badass, offering a 55 armor rating as opposed to the typical 25 that the regular saddle offers, but does also hinder its base movement speed by 15%. So both saddles offer their own unique utility, which is a nice touch. As stated in the mod description, there will be a platform saddle coming in the future, which I cannot wait to see. As expected, it does have an array of different attacks, a regular frontal stomp when using the primary attack. The primary attack is directional, meaning it can perform a stomp with its back feet, and also a kick when facing the camera behind it, all of which deal decent base damage and knockback. When pressing the alternate attack button, it will perform a haymaker of an uppercut. This attack is great for harvesting a ton of berries and surprisingly fiber. Adding to that, it does also harvest meat from carcasses, which is also the case with the Ferrazino, which is also a herbivore, so of course they do not eat the meat. And if those stomp attacks weren't enough, it would be rude not to include a Romper Stomper Mega Stomp, which of course deals some hefty damage and knockback. It does, however, have a small cooldown to balance things out a little. And finally, we have a very intimidating cosmetic Roar, which does seem to have two animations. If that doesn't terrify your enemies, I don't know what will. The Zungaria Therium is a natural tank, having a 15% damage reduction due to its thick skin, while also being fully immune to bleed effects. It has two passives that become active when it performs its taunt ability. Once used, this will provoke aggression from any nearby creatures and give it a small damage buff of 10%, both passives lasting for the duration of 2 minutes. It can go into a blocking stance. This will give it a massive 60% damage reduction on top of the already 15% thick skin passive. Going into this stance will quickly drain its stamina, and upon reaching 0 stam will exit the block stance. Not only are they great for tanking damage, but once again has the sit option to regenerate its health via its radial menu. Oh, how cute is that? He's out here chilling, catching a suntan. There is so much to love about the Zungaria Therium, and I can safely say that for me it's the coolest creature on this list. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did or found it helpful in any way, please don't forget to like, comment, share around and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, goodbye.